Every now and again, a musical act comes along that changes things. A Tribe Called Red is that kind of group, and they're having a breakthrough year. Nominated for multiple 2017 Juno Awards, including Electronic Album of the Year and Video of the Year. These three DJs from Ontario aren't only blending new sounds, they're building bridges between Canada's Indigenous culture and people of all backgrounds who just like to dance. Welcome to Chicago, the American city where new forms of music are made. It's a place known for its unique flavor of blues and jazz, and where electronic dance music called house began. So it's no surprise that tonight fans are flocking to one of the city's best-known venues for new music, Lincoln Hall, to hear a form of dance music that is unique in the world. It's the creation of these three popular Canadian DJs who together are a Tribe Called Red. How the American audience has treated you guys?
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, it's been a good tour?
Yeah, we haven't not had a sellout yet, like especially in the States. It's been
That's amazing.
fantastic. Yeah, and like it's a Wednesday, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
This is for the guys.
Tribe Called Red, woo!
This is for the guys.
So where does this American tour rate in all the ones you've done?
This American tour has been way bigger than anything we've done before.
Yeah, cool. That's great.
Yeah, like twice the size.
What DJs Ian Campo, Tim Hill, and Aaron Thomas are creating is a new mix of dance music that they call electric Pow Wow. Let me break it down for you a bit if you've never heard it before. Underlying it are traditional Latin and hip-hop rhythms, with the heavy, bass-driven beats of dubstep. And then their unique sound is added. The powerful and ancient music of Canada's first people. The drum representing the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and the soaring vocals of Pow Wow. Then add to the stage show Indigenous dancers, and everyone of all ages and races simply cannot stand still.
All my native people make some noise right now!
Is it the humanity of Indigenous music? What do you think it is?
It's something that I think connects to people on a level that we're missing in the world today. You know, we're missing a lot of those things that we used to have around dance, around celebration, around rites of passage, around things that we went through to mark our lives.
It was just amazing to see people react to it whenever we played like new songs, and anytime there was powwow that was being used, it was really, really powerful in that setting to see people like own it really quickly and identify with it really quickly.
It's really hard to explain that because we've never experienced this before. This is all brand new.
So had you ever heard this particular kind of sort of mashup of musical influences and sounds before you listened to a Tribe Called Red?
No. And I always try to do some research when I find a new, and I really couldn't find anything else of that nature.
Well, when I was younger, my family would bring me to some of the powwows that were here in Chicago, and I remember being a little kid and thinking immediately that there was something different about the way it felt. I couldn't, I didn't have the words to explain that as a little kid, but to hear that same energy, feel that same energy coming back in this new form of music is really, really exciting, and I'm really happy that it's made its way into this new genre.
This sold-out show in Chicago is no anomaly.
Thank you very much, Chicago. You guys are crazy.
Since they started producing music together in 2010, A Tribe Called Red has been grabbing people's attention with its unique and infectious sound. Their following exploded in 2014.
A Tribe Called Red.
When they were named the Breakthrough Group of the Year at the Juno Awards.
Winnipeg. This has been an awesome city for us.
And with fans around the world, their tours have included stops in Europe, Australia, and Mexico. In 2016 alone, they played concerts in over 60 North American cities. So who are these three men from Ontario bringing this uniquely Canadian music to the world? Well, they share one thing. They all grew up in or close to Canadian cities. Theirs is the music of urban Indigenous people, who also go by their DJ names if you meet them in person. They've been exposed to wider cultural influences than First Nations people living in more remote places closer to the land. And those influences are incredibly diverse.
Some of my earliest memories are going to Shakespeare in the Park, going to see the symphony and those sort of things, and being really enamored with music from as long as I can remember.
My grandfather was a fiddle player for bluegrass, and he could play the Orange Blossom Special. So if you can play that in that world, you know, you're a G. My uncles could play blues guitars. My uncle actually started the first ever funk soul band on Six Nations, like on our res. It was pretty cool back in the 60s, 70s.
I grew up listening to a lot of punk rock, a lot of hip hop and skateboarding. My dad was really into a lot of different types of music, everything from country to blues to a lot of rock and roll. So grew up listening to a lot of music.
From those rich cultural roots, the two original members of A Tribe Called Red started exploring their points of connection. Ian and Aaron lived not too far from each other in the Ottawa region when they started playing monthly gigs at this local club in 2008. It's something they still do to this day to stay loyal to their Ottawa fans. They saw how mixing powwow with modern music didn't only make it highly danceable for everyone, it helped bridge a divide between cultures that has stubbornly dominated the relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians.
That idea of having a communal experience in the club, all coming in and feeling something together, when you start to apply that to a structure like Canada, where trying to have a common experience between Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people is so difficult. Now we can step into a club, and all of a sudden we knew Indigenous people were going to feel this. We knew that people from our community were going to feel this when we mixed powwow music with dubstep and house and all of this stuff. We weren't expecting everybody else to.
We are the Halusa Nation.
Their latest work, We Are the Hallucination, is an ambitious concept album. It seeks to build multiple bridges across many cultures victimized by colonialism. The album has been streamed almost 9.5 million times in Canada. And that's the kind of popularity that has established artists coming to them now to collaborate. Talents including hip-hop star Yassine Bey, also known as Mos Def. But it seems to me you're getting more ambitious with each album in your determination to say something. What are you trying to say with Hallucination?
Yeah, well, that idea of connection between Indigenous people is so important, especially, I think, for people that living in colonized countries. There's a real feeling of being alone. I mean, that's part of the plan, right? Is keep people isolated. But when you realize that you have all these communities all over the world that are similar to your own of Indigenous people, and you start joining those communities and those ideas, and you realize that the cultures are actually really similar.
For people to be like, hey, I know what these people stand for, and I recognize that. That's what I see it as.
The connections that are built on a dance floor can lead to broader cultural awareness of the common stand being taken by people of all backgrounds on issues such as oil and gas pipelines, or reconciling the dark past of Canada's residential schools.
We are not a conquered people.
After years of hoping for a broader understanding of Indigenous issues, the band today sees it taking hold.
This is something that's unique that I've talked to my father, my grandfather, and they all come to the agreements that this is something that's completely new. So
The conversation that we're having today, your grandparents probably would never have had with non-Indigenous
No.
people.
like there's something changing. There's a shift in the consciousness of the people right now.
When we were in Chicago, at the show that you were at, we were walking in the front doors when we were showing up for the show, and there was a young man there who had a Blackhawks jersey on, and he was asking the bouncer, it's like, hey, I have my Blackhawks jersey on. I just wanted to know, do you think it's appropriate for me to come in wearing this tonight?
That's different.
In
Right?
Chicago.
Like,
In Chicago.
Like, that's huge, you know, and that's just a fan. I heard that, and you know, part of me wanted to stop and like say something, but I also just wanted to let that moment happen and let him, you know, let them both think about that for a second, you know, and just and have me walk away thinking about that, and, you know, and just being, you know, there is something happening. There's definitely something happening.
I've seen you guys wear that same jersey.
Well, Indigenous people wearing a Blackhawks logo is different than non-Indigenous people wearing a Blackhawks logo, right? Like it has to do with like seeing something in popular culture and finding empowerment in that. Yeah, it's completely horrifying and it's being exploited for non-Indigenous benefit, which is the epitome of cultural appropriation.
This is the Alan Cross Radio program. It is Thursday. This is episode 206.
As host of the syndicated radio series, The Ongoing History of New Music, Alan Cross has watched a lot of bands break through. So you have your ear on what's new in music. How important and where does A Tribe Called Red rank right now, would you say?
This is a band whose time has come, and I would love to see more attention drawn to this band because they are probably the most Canadian band that you can possibly imagine.
Draw some kind of comparison, if you can, of another band that sort of changed things in a way that was completely original.
I think you can draw some parallels between what A Tribe Called Red is doing right now and what we saw coming out of the Bronx in the late 1970s with the first hip-hop and rap artists. That music came from a place, a cultural destination that was New York City in the late 1970s, in housing projects, in a terrible place where people were living in poverty. And yet art came out of that. And given the history of Canada's Indigenous peoples, the problems that we've had with reserves and the need for reconciliation, it's perfect to see some art come out of that struggle. And this music is very vital. It's got a deep history. It's very important to the founding peoples of this country. So it's really important that it be exposed somehow to the rest of us.
Their growing fan base and rising success means long stretches of time on the road. But even with their current success, they are still their own roadies, unpacking and lifting and packing in a new city every day.
What time do you have to be up at the theater?
6 to do sound check, and then I don't even know what time.
Kick it off at 8?
Yeah, something like that.
I got a couple people in the house really excited to see you. So,
Oh yeah? That's awesome.
Yeah, we got some guests, you know. So yeah, it's gonna be really cool. Yeah, man. I love the great work.
What'd you get? The nice rooms?
You coming in?
I'll look for you there.
Peace.
We're in Toronto now, and the biggest crowd of their North American tour. And on the big screens, the political message is front and center in a way that is not always in their music. Stereotypes of Indigenous people from movies and other forms of entertainment. Mocking them, really, and forcing the mostly young, white suburban crowd to realize how absurd and dated they are.
A lot of the video portion tries to do is, you know, allow people to be confronted with these images in a different space. Holding up these racist misrepresentations of Indigenous people at a time where Indigenous people are taking control of their own image might seem a little bit backwards. But to me, it's saying, let's not forget that this history has been going on for decades, and we've been, you know, in this new world for years.
And although they say it was never their goal, they have become role models, even giving up drinking to set an example. Because you are trailblazers, and because you have all eyes on right now, is that starting to feel more like a burden?
I don't think so. It's something that I think we gladly do because it comes part of what we're trying to do, I guess. And dealing with our culture the way that we are.
We have been called the Indians.
We're really mindful when it comes to everything that we do. There comes a certain amount of respect that we have to treat it with.
By blending the music of their ancestors to the rhythm of the time, three men from Ontario are building bridges between cultures. If it is the artists in society who provide the way to reconcile the past with the present, then A Tribe Called Red may well have landed in that sweet spot of being in the right place at the right time.